So let it be written. So let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors. You're getting ready to start a campaign. You've done a session 0. And if you haven't, stop this video and go watch our session 0 videos. That is super important. But you have all that information. James, what do you do? How do you get started?
So I'll start actually by telling you what I don't do, which is I don't personally like starting everyone in, say, like a tavern or somewhere where something's not happening. I really like the style of diving right in. Maybe all the characters are on the way to the same place where some action might happen, or they're in the middle of some action. And the cool thing about this is, having done a session 0, again, if you haven't, you should. You have a very good idea of what your players are expecting, what things they might want to see, what things they don't want to see. And so you should have confidence building this first session and really ramping up the excitement to, well, get everybody excited about playing and kind of really dive in and get that first session going, really well.
For me, I think that the biggest mistake that I used to make is I thought I was writing a story. That's not the case. You're not writing a story. Think of it this way. When you start to prep for a campaign, and I learned this from Matt Click from A Fistful of Dice. He helped me out with this. It's like setting pieces onto a board without knowing their exact purpose and their function. So you set up the elements that you can pull from that session 0, these sort of blobs, and you don't have to have everything decided. This is super, super important because as the game plays out, as the players interact with these things, whatever they gravitate toward, the story will sort of naturally start to tie together. There are things that you can leave open and vague so that when you introduce them later, they don't seem contrived. They seem like you're a mastermind. And so that would be my advice is don't try to decide everything up front. Just go, okay, little of this, put this here. I don't know, maybe someone named Bronze Eyes. That sounds fun. All right, let's get started.
I like to go into a little bit more detail in terms of you've got all these pieces on the board. One thing that I do think is important to start kind of moving those pieces into the actual campaign is to look at what motives those groups and people might have and how that might conflict or aid the party. So setting up, I have this faction. I know that what they're doing is not going to work with the party, so the party's going to want to oppose them. So I'm going to start introducing a person from that faction in early on as maybe a low-level villain who's going to introduce later on into the head of this faction who's going to be the villain of kind of the first arc of the campaign. And even just kind of gathering a couple names of these people of like, okay, who's this villain going to be? What's their name going to be? If you're running games online and you like to put art up, like finding art of what this person's going to look like. Just sort of preparing some of these elements that'll jumpstart the drama of the game early on so you can really kind of get into the core of the game right from square one.
Yeah, so to kind of put these pieces together, you have your session 0. The players tell you exactly what they love, what their green lights are, what they want to see. You choose one of those things to start them in the middle of, like James is saying. But before then, you kind of make a list of, you know what, I'm going to focus on Jeff's character because that seemed to be the thing that everyone had in common. And I'm going to take this piece, like as Jeff says, and I'm going to put that exactly counter to what Jeff's character wants right now. So you basically just take all these things and sort of lump them together, finding where the most conflict is. If you ever have any question of where to go with the campaign, figure out what you decided and what would break it, what would destroy it, what would burn it down. That's the best place to start. So, yeah.
So this part of campaign prep is kind of an awkward middle period. So you've done your session 0 where you have all these elements sort of decided. And then you have kind of what we've just talked about of kind of deciding how all these things are going to start to stack up. And then you can kind of go from there into prepping specific sessions then as they've come. So we've actually already done videos about the other 2 elements that I mentioned there of session 0s. And then we also have videos about how to prep a session. So if you kind of come into this part looking to sort of get a little bit more detailed than what we've talked about here, check out our prep videos to see how we prep individual sessions of our games that we go into.
So we are Tabletop Terrors, and we're all about fun, creativity, and tabletop RPGs. So if you like those sorts of things, consider subscribing. and like the video. What we'd really love to see in the comments, how do you prep for your campaigns? What's your go-to secret? We want to know, because this is one of the most interesting things to me. I have never seen someone do it exactly the same way. And so that's really interesting. So what's your cool thing? What's your weird thing? What's the thing that you're embarrassed about? Whatever. Let's wrap this up with a very serious Tabtarian toast.
May you mend the first break.
May you kill the first snake.
May you conquer everything you undertake.
Sláinte. I think that we'll join in you.
We'll do what now?
I didn't sign up for this.
I forgot to tell you guys that we have the contest going. Oh god. I'm not gonna be able to do it without laughing now. Okay, I'm gonna try though. I'm gonna try. How much of that was used? We'll do it all over. So let's wrap it up with a Tabtarian toast. Subscribe to our channel.
May you mend the first break.
Sorry. I just started laughing again.
That's amazing.
I
That is in the best way. That is so out of character for you, Jeff, and I'm so happy about it.
This has to be the end of it. It has to be. I'll be so upset if it's not.
Sorry.
No.
Oh, God.
Do you understand how cool this is?
It's got me in a giggly mood about it. It just I had one of those, just like it just crossed through my mind again as we were going into the toast.
I know. It's only gonna make it worse, but I was like, I'll show you my long form. Oh God. Deep dive. Okay. Quick tips. Oh my God.
Oh, I thought he was making a joke about how long this was getting.
Yeah.
No, I was making jokes about how I said I would be in everyone.
Oh.